What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of The Taste of Things, the new French historical romantic drama film from Tran Anh Hyung, starring Juliette Binoche and Benoît Magimel. This is a film that was on the Oscar shortlist for Best International Feature Film, and famously was the French Film Board's selection for the Oscar over Anatomy of a Fall, Justine Triet's film, of course, and yet they would probably take that decision back given how strong Anatomy of the Fall did the Oscars, getting many nominations, including Best Director and Best Picture, despite the fact that it's not in the mix for Best International Feature Film. And then, kind of shockingly, The Taste of Things, which of course has been very warmly received since it premiered back at Cannes last summer, where Hyung won the Best Director award. The Taste of Things was actually not selected for a nomination for Best International Feature Film, to a big surprise. So that story definitely ended in the manner I think we kind of didn't expect. Nonetheless, the film is finally releasing, starting to expand in the United States on Valentine's Day. And obviously I had been anticipating it just because I'd heard all these good things about it and knew of its famous quote-unquote selection over Anatomy of a Fall, which kind of is reminiscent of when Portrait of a Lady on Fire was not selected by France and Les Miserables was submitted instead, a few years back. Either way, I think The Taste of Things is really good. I had never really seen a movie like this before. This is a period piece set in 1885, really at one location, this manor house kind of in the countryside. We don't really know if it's relationship to the town it's around, but it's this manor house where we spend all our time, and we're spending it primarily with these two characters, Dodin, played by Magimel, who is kind of the man of the manor, and Juliette Binoche's character, Eugenie, and the two of them cook together. That's their thing. And Dodin is a famous master gourmet chef, and he works closely with Eugenie, who lives in the manor, lives at his home. They are not married, although they are romantically involved and also working very closely together, because even though she kind of serves directly as a cook, quote unquote, under him, it's really more of a partnership, even if Dodin seems to be more public facing in terms of when they receive guests and have people over and things like that. So kind of an interesting dynamic. But what makes The Taste of Things really stand out is just how the movie, I think, films and treats the preparation, the creation, the cooking, and the eating of food. I never really seen a movie like this before. It's been compared to some movies in the past, like Babette's Feast, but I haven't seen those movies, so I can't really make the comp. But let me know if you have any thoughts on that. But the movie's kind of painstakingly patient in how it shows that prep of watching just master cooks get in their bag and make these elaborate, multi-course dishes with all these steps. And of course it's 1885 cooking, so we're watching in the home, true genuine cooking, on various stoves and in various fire pits, and the techniques, it all looks very genuine on the part of the actors as well. I think to some people this movie might come across as a bit indulgent just because there's not a whole lot of plot progression in the traditional sense. There's not a whole lot of hard conflict, to be honest. But it's a really warm, tender movie, and God, it'll make you hungry watching it. I gotta be honest. I certainly got hungry watching it. And it's just kind of done in a loving way, and I was able to, I think, appreciate despite the fact that I'm not a foodie per se. Of course, I love to eat, but I don't have a passion for extravagant dishes or anything like that. And it's not really a foodie movie either. It's more of just a connection and a dedication movie, as the romance between Dodin and Eugenie is just as important to the rest of the movie. And of course, they kind of take on this young girl, Pauline, who clearly has a lot of acumen as a chef in terms of tasting flavors on the spot, and they want to kind of train her as an apprentice to become a master chef because they see the talent in her. And I think that stuff, all the stuff of Pauline, is very enjoyable. It's very fun, very warm. But I think you're really here for the relationship between uh, Eugenie and Dodin, which is really funny for a meta reason because Juliette Binoche and Benoît Magimel used to be together. They actually have a child together, and they haven't acted in a movie together since I believe it's like the late 90s. So this is kind of a homecoming for them later in life. And they have great chemistry together. I think Maggie Mel has a pretty great presence, who I'd never really seen before. He has a pretty great presence as like a really dedicated guy, but he's not warm. He's not toxic. We're not watching the bear in this, you know. And then she just has kind of like a steely presence that I think people who have seen her before would be familiar with. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool movie. Just because it kind of stands out for its uniqueness. I think the relationship and where that goes was definitely intriguing because it's just kind of unique in its setup. It's kind of a unique relationship situation that the two of them are in together. I think the ending scene, the ending, 10 minutes is really strong. Not to, I don't really want to spoil too much of what happens, although there's not a ton of plot. I think the overall highlight of the movie is kind of the opening set piece, and you'd call it a set piece, but it's really just watching Dodin and Eugenie and some of the kids with them preparing this elaborate meal for Dodin to have with their friends upstairs. And it's like action, quote unquote, as you watch them cook. And then it's like transposed with Dodin and his buddies just talking about things, talking about food as well. Like, I think that's kind of like the shining highlight of the film. And if that scene doesn't really connect with you, you're probably not going to be too into the movie. But overall, pretty cool film. I'm happy I saw it. And yeah, let me know, what did you think of The Taste of Things? Did it stand out? Just kind of a unique movie? Like, I never really seen food and cooking portrayed in this way before. Obviously, there are cooking movies, there are cooking shows, but this movie kind of had like a painterly way about things that stood out to me. What stood out to you with The Taste of Things? Let me know. And for more movie reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.